The waters of the main river shimmered under the summer sun on July 31, 2001, as the river glided quietly through the heart of Nied, a district in Frankfurt am Main, Germany. The city, often bustling with life, felt eerily still that morning, its calm broken only by the occasional boat passing along the banks. But it was the sight of something floating in the water near the river's edge that would forever change the lives of those who lived there. The body of a young girl, no older than 15 or 16, had been discovered. She was lifeless, her body drifting just beneath the surface of the river, weighed down by the brutality of her final moments. Her once beautiful face, marked by years of pain, was now pale and still. The police, summoned by a horrified passerby, arrived quickly to the scene. Upon inspection, it was clear that this was no ordinary tragedy. The girl had suffered terrible abuse, her fragile body bearing the scars of a life marked by torment. She had been battered, bruised, and broken long before her body was discarded into the river. Investigators quickly surmised that the abuse had likely been ongoing for years, with the girl perhaps enduring unimaginable suffering in the shadows of a cruel existence. Despite the violence done to her, her final moments were the cruelest of all. She had been killed and left to float along the river, a lifeless reminder of a life snuffed out too soon. The authorities were baffled. Forensic experts would later confirm that she had likely originated from the border region between Pakistan and Afghanistan, but she had lived in Frankfurt am Main for some time before her death. Her clothing, though unremarkable, was a far cry from the traditions of her presumed homeland, suggesting that she might have been part of an immigrant community trying to find a new life in a foreign land. But who she was, and where she had truly come from, remained a mystery. The police combed through the area around Nied, searching for any clues, any shred of evidence, that could shed light on her identity. No missing persons reports had been filed that matched her description, and there were no clear leads. It was as if the girl had appeared out of nowhere, left to be forgotten in the cold waters of the main river. She had no name, at least, not one that anyone in Frankfurt could identify. Her dark, disheveled hair and the clothes she wore seemed to belong to a child whose past had been both painful and fragmented. She appeared to be of South Asian descent, possibly from a family who had fled conflict in their homeland in search of safety in Germany. But this search for answers only deepened the questions. How had she ended up alone? And why had she been subjected to such horrific abuse? The authorities launched a widespread effort to identify her, reaching out to local immigrant communities, contacting refugee organizations, and running appeals on local news broadcasts. But no one came forward. Her face remained a mystery. Her story was one of a nameless, faceless victim, somebody who had slipped through the cracks of a world that failed to protect her. The girl from the Main, as the media began to call her, was a tragic reminder of the unknown victims of violence who are often left voiceless in the shadows of society. As days turned to weeks, the search for her identity grew more urgent. But even as investigators delved deeper into her past, they discovered more chilling details. The girl's injuries were not consistent with a single act of violence, They indicated long-term physical and emotional abuse, likely at the hands of someone who had kept her isolated. It was believed that she had been trapped in a life of silent suffering, perhaps a victim of human trafficking, forced marriage, or worse. Despite the police's efforts, no leads materialized about the girl's origin or the identity of her killers. In the years following the discovery of her body, theories about who she might have been continued to circulate, but none were definitive. Local newspapers, television reports, and the community continued to speculate about her story, yet it remained a tragedy without resolution. Her death marked an unspeakable loss, not only for the girl herself but for a society that failed to prevent it. For the residents of Nied, the girl from the Maine became a haunting figure, a girl whose story was never fully told. Memorials were held in her honor, with people from various communities coming together to grieve the loss of a young life that was snatched away in the most cruel and unjust manner. While no answers came, her death sparked a quiet movement within local organizations, urging the protection of vulnerable immigrants and children in their communities. Years later, the case would remain an open file. Every year, as the anniversary of her death came and went, the city of Frankfurt am Main remembered the girl who had no name. In the hearts of those who heard her story, she would never be forgotten. Though her identity and the identities of those responsible for her death were never uncovered, the memory of the girl from the Maine lingered, a silent, tragic testament to the forgotten victims of abuse and neglect.